Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe is moving to have the Confederate flag removed from state license plates. The governor announced Virginia will not only stop issuing those plates, but replace those already on the road. And joining us now from Richmond is Governor Terry McAuliffe. Let's talk about why Virginia is still offering Confederate flag license plates in the first place.
Well, they've been offering them here since about 1999. It wasn't until the ruling of the Supreme Court last week which allowed us to make the determination that we could remove the Confederate battle flag from our license plates. So as soon as the United States Supreme Court, which overturned a Virginia lower court decision, until that occurred, we did not have the ability to do anything about it. So today I made the announcement that I want to see the Confederate flag off of all Virginia license plates.
I know that there are a lot of Americans who are celebrating this conversation, think that it's something that should have been happening over decades and generations ago. The fact that it's happening now, of course, is a tragic result of those 9 lives lost at the Emmanuel Church in Charleston. But when we're talking about that, and since that is what sparked this conversation, do you think that we're missing a broader point about where guns end up in whose hands, about who's getting mental health help and who's not? Are we missing the more important primary conversations here, Governor?
Well, I think this is part of the conversation, but it is a broader conversation that we need to have. You've mentioned the issue of gun control. When I ran for governor, I talked about this, how important the issue was for the Commonwealth. As governor, I have tried to put forth common sense gun restrictions. I'm a gun owner, I'm a hunter, but you know what, Contessa, everybody ought to go through a background check. You know, stalkers, domestic abusers, they should not be allowed to own guns. So I've put forth what I have thought was common sense gun restrictions. Unfortunately, I did not prevail in the General Assembly. I will continue to do it because at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. I've had to act unilaterally in regards to assisting those with severe mental illness. I tried to close the coverage gap. Once again, the General Assembly did not work with me on that, so I did my own Healthy Virginia plan to provide health care to 200,000 Virginians, including about 20,000 citizens of the Commonwealth with severe mental illness. So we're trying to do that. As governor, I'm trying to build what I call the new Virginia economy. It's important, but the actions that I took today were important. We do not need the Confederate flag on our license plate. It's divisive. It's hurtful to so many folks. We compete on a global basis. We cannot be divisive.
And we're talking about the Confederate flag, and we're talking about gun control.
Yep.
Do you think that those things are really what keep people alive?
Well, listen, I think it's all part. I mean, when you have a Confederate flag, for many people, the divisive nature of it, people don't want to see it. And I just don't believe people ought to be riding around the Commonwealth of Virginia. Listen, this heritage is important for us. I clearly understand that. Virginia was capital of the Confederacy. As you know, we just went through the 150th anniversary, the sesquicentennial. I understand the significance to our nation. We have a very specific and special role in our country. Well, then why did
it take 9 people dying in a historically African-American church to take that kind of action?
What didn't, and you're confusing, first of all, our hearts go out to everybody in Charleston, the entire community. We could not act in Virginia until the United States Supreme Court acted last week. That is why we were able to do what we were able to do in Virginia. I still would have moved ahead. This is something that I've talked about. We need to make sure we're open and welcoming. So we shouldn't mix up 2 different events. What occurred and allowed us to take this action today was the United States Supreme Court decision overturning a Virginia court decision which ruled that you could put the Confederate flag on the license plates. The court ruled this last week, Supreme Court, that we, the state, could make that determination, and once I was given that legal authority, we began the process, Contessa.
Wow, what kind of timing there, huh? When we're talking about the debate over the symbolism of the Confederate flag, there are a lot of Southerners with a lot of pride who say it's not about the fact that it symbolizes states that supported slavery. It's about their Southern pride. But the debate now is happening not only over the Confederate flag, but over Confederate statues as well, a conversation that's happening in Texas. Do you think that Confederate heroes, that statues of Confederate heroes, that public places ought to rethink paying homage to them?
I was asked that today at my press conference where I announced about the license plates. I have no intentions of doing anything as it relates to the statues that we have here. Obviously, I say again, we are the capital of the Confederacy. Jefferson Davis, Stonewall Jackson. We have many statues here. Those statues will stay. They are important parts of our heritage. The issue that I'm dealing with today is the Confederate flag, and for many people, it brings up a divisiveness. It brings up a feeling of hatred. As governor, I'm trying to build a new economy. I'm trying to make Virginia open and welcoming.
There's a state that is celebrating the Confederate flag with its own state flag. Is it time for Mississippi to rethink its flag?
I would certainly think so. I can just tell you, as someone who we've been successful. All I can tell you is the results we've had. In Contessa, I will say part of that is making sure that anyone understands that if you want to come to Virginia, we are open and welcoming, and we do not need divisive symbols. We do not need hurtful signs. We don't. I'm trying to deal with a state that is the #1 recipient of Department of Defense dollars. We are being hammered by the cuts in defense sequestration. We're #1 out of all 50 states. I have to diversify my economy. I have to bring in new business. You cannot do that by putting walls up around your state. I have knocked walls down. They are going to stay down. And you know what? The results speak for themselves. We've been tremendously successful bringing in new business.
A decisive, impactful announcement from you today. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, as always, thank you so much for your time.